Good afternoon and welcome to the Finance Budget Delegated Committee for 17th of June 2024. Wodonga Council acknowledges Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of the country and as traditional custodians of the land. We respect their ancestors, elders and young people and recognise their continuous connections to lands, waters and communities across the country. Number 2, apologies and requests to attend by electronic means. We have 2 councillors on approved leave and we have an apology for Councillor Danny Lowe. Declaration by councillors of any conflict of interest. No conflicts. Confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. Do I have a motion, please? Councillor Chamberlain. Yeah, as rec. And Councillor Quilty. Put that motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 5.1. March quarterly budget report. Do I have a motion? Councillor Quilty, as recommended. Councillor Chamberlain, Councillor Quilty.
Thank you. Well, not much to say. Many thanks, as usual, to the Finance Department for providing the information. We had a bit of a healthy variation this time, which is nice to see, to have $500,000 of operating surplus forecast based on Q3 information instead of $10 million deficit, which was based on Q2 forecasts. There is a bit of an explanation. There is the big chunk of it is a non-monetary item. However, it's important to understand where we sit and bring everything correctly into account. So a bit of detail there. And there is a sufficient expenditure planned on the capital program with 17 million all up, and a healthy variation of 4 million on the cash position. So all is looking reasonable and well explained. I will be supporting the variation and the budget based on this variation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. Councillor Chamberlain.
Yes, as Councillor Quilty just said, it's looking very good. It's an indication of what a good job our Finance Department is doing. Just a couple of little things there. I note there's a few parts where there's some offsets, which have basically been transferred from other areas within the budget process. It has no real net effect on the overall budget, but it's going quite well and is looking pretty good in considering that these are tight financial times, and we're doing okay so far. So hopefully that will continue.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Councillor Hall.
Yes, I don't have much to add to that other than, like, in the report, as it says, we were looking at a $10.6 million deficit, and we will be the council's operating budget surplus projected to be 0.59 million compared to that deficit. So I think in the scheme of things, we're doing considerably well. I think this has all come about from having this finance budget committee and hard work done by our council officers, and much appreciated. And I think we're getting ourselves into a lot better position and knowledge about where we're heading than ever before. So there's a lot of appreciation that has to go back to the staff for providing the position where we're at, but also, you know, councillors taking that hard step and you know, promoting that we do get into that position where we can produce surpluses rather than deficits, and have a tight financial ship steering forward. So, yeah, thank you.
This result's a really good result, and it's come about largely as a direct consequence of the hard work and the issues that were brought to our attention at the early stages of this budget preparation process, when we learnt that we were heading into some very, very poor conditions into the future, and we had to then go and take some hard decisions and do a lot of hard work. Our staff went into corners to look for the things that needed to be looked for, and continuously found a whole range of things, both positive and negative, that impacted on our budget positions. There's been a whole range of other things that have come directly or indirectly out of those processes that have led to where we are today with this quarterly report. So it's been illuminating, and I think a really strong exercise, which is part of the process of putting this council on a really strong footing to go forward over the next 10 years. Councillor Quilty to close.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, like you mentioned, there were a few decisions made to bring us to this financial position, and not just cleaning up the way we account for it. There have been some restructures, some employee cost changes, which is reflected in this variation. There is a bit of a change in our strategies and consultation expenses, in external contractor expenses, and other variations that have been achieved due to strive for efficiency and decisions about the organizational restructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. I put the motion. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. The next item is item 5.2, community feedback on draft budget 24-25. Do I have a motion? Councillor Chamberlain, seconder. Councillor Hall, Councillor Chamberlain.
This is about the community feedback on our draft budget, and I appreciate and thank everybody who has given us some feedback. I notice we've had a number of emails and a number of actual formal objections, complaints, arguments, support documents, the whole thing. We need to note that feedback. Be assured we do read it, we do understand it. We still operate and have to operate within the legal advice and within the financial constraints of what we need to do. Do I think this budget's going to be perfect? No. Do I think it's an excellent document and a very fine attempt with what faces us? Absolutely. And I'm hoping that this draft budget will be accepted at our next council meeting, after tonight, sorry. And just be aware that the feedback doesn't fall on deaf ears, but we have to take a number of things into account when we take that stuff on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. Councillor Hall.
Yes, this is a good. Attached to this report is the draft budget engagement snapshot. So, and it's quite. I think it's a good document. It's quite well. It's detailed with feedback from individuals, but also from social media, etc. There's the main theme that came across and is listed in the document is there's a strong opposition to rate increases, citing current high costs of living, and I know everyone out there is probably doing it tough with the way things are financially with taxes and what have you, statewide, but countrywide. And we are, as a council, dealing with the same issues, and that's what came about with that's why the restructure was one of the reasons why we had to have a look at the way we do things. So we're certainly, as a council, very aware of everyone probably doing a hard time, and it's really showed in this document, because we don't normally get huge amounts of feedback for the draft budget, but this one there was considerable amount individually and as I said on social media. And you know, it's difficult for us. We've got to find the right balance between providing services and running, you know, a fairly big organisation, and it doesn't come cheaply. But I think we've found the right balance here. I've always been an advocate for lower rates, as much as where we can go with lower rates without, you know, cutting services too harshly. And I think this budget has found that balance. You know, there will be some that will find, you know, that they're not happy with that, but we're working for everyone, and I think across the board it has found a right position of where we need to be with the 2.75% increase, which is, you know, in the scheme of things, fairly conservative. We haven't been above the cap. We've been below the cap in most times in recent years. So I think I will be supporting this, and but I always look forward to looking at things differently maybe next year, and you know, with it, maybe a new council comes on board, and we'll see where we go with all of that. But at this stage, yeah, I support what we've put forward tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Quilty.
Thank you. When I ran for council a few years ago, it was on the promise of lower rates. I always voted for lower rates, and never supported at cap, or always try to go as low under cap as possible. However, this time, while I'm not happy going with a full cap on principle, and not happy with having to charge people more money on top of what they already have to pay, all the taxes they have to pay, all the expenses they have to pay, and supporting themselves and their families, I am happy with this budget. I'm happy to put my hand on my heart and say that we have looked at our expenses. We have made sure that we bring properly all our expenses into account, that we have accounted for all the maintenance costs, all the renewal costs. We are carrying the responsibility for the capital decisions the council and us also have made in the past. We have looked at our own dreams and aspirations and capital projects that we thought of doing, and we put some of them aside and or put some of them on hold. We made some tough decisions about the restructure. We made the CEO, on the instruction of the council, made some decisions regarding this organization. We all had the opportunity to look at the service catalog, the services we provide, how we organize the service centers, and how and what we do. I'm very happy to say that as councillors, we also try to be very frugal, not taking any extra expenses, not having a mayoral car, not attending the events and conferences that we don't have to attend, only making sure that the money on council is spent only when it absolutely needs to be spent for the good of the city. Anyway, to bring it to a close, I would like to say that what I'll be asking the residents to pay this year is a lot. And I, as a resident, will be paying a lot. I think it is a lot. I agree. It is a disgrace that we have to pay so much money. But I am happy that we made responsible decisions, that we looked at the expenses. We are not being lavish. We are being frugal. We are being sustainable. And we are asking not just because we can't manage our money, but because this is what it's going to cost to keep this city going through the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quilty. This is been one of the most difficult budgets or budget processes that a council can go through. Early on, we recognised that we had some serious potential deficits coming at us, which threatened solvency of the council in a few years' time. We've had to take action this year to reduce the recurrent expenditure by something in the order of $2.8 million. Our CEO has undertaken some staff restructuring measures to help get to that point going into the new financial year. We've had to find other money out of the budgets for other things that would have been nice to have, but are beyond the things that we think we have to have. And we've had to work very hard to come up with a budget that reflects a responsible fiscal approach from this council in the circumstances we find ourselves in. Creating a budget is a mix of a whole range of things. In essence, there is a global amount of money that needs to be distributed across all ratepayers within the municipality. That global amount of money is the same year to year plus any increases, percentage increases that might be applied. And in past years, we've kept the increases very low, and in fact, there's been 1 year, a couple of years ago, where the actual rates didn't rise at all. This year, because of the circumstances we find ourselves in, we've accepted the 2.75 cap as an increase in rates, which is still less than the amount of inflation, and it is also less than what's happening in the construction industry, which is going up. Expenses are going up quite a bit more than what the actual inflation rates are. So the burden and the pressures on council to do more with less is quite significant. What we find in the situation we have to do is we have to distribute the bucket of money that is the global amount that we have to distribute. We have a system of doing that, and it's based on differential rates, plus it's based on valuations. The valuations are done by the Valuer General's office, external to the council, and are presented to us as a given. What that does is that determines how the distribution happens, and each year it's going to be a different category that gets different rises depending on the valuations of land. This year we've seen rises in commercial and industrial land that is a little bit higher, and we've seen stabilisation in some of the residential land. So the prospect is that there will be some industrial and commercial properties that will go up, and some residential properties may go down. There will be rises across every category though. It's based on a 2.75% increase, but impacted by the valuations. It's been a very difficult task to get to where we are. I think the budget is a good balanced mix of where we need to be in the circumstances we find ourselves in. Councillor Chamberlain to close. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only other thing I wanted to state, people who are reading this submission will note that we've taken on board some legal advice as well as public submissions and feedback. That legal advice was around the rates strategy and the revenue and rating plan, in fact, and it's something that we will probably be having, or the new council in due course will be having another look at next year in any case, as it comes up every 4 years when the new council comes on board. There were some adjustments needed to be made after that legal advice, and those adjustments have been included in this draft document. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chamberlain. I put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. There's no confidential business, and there being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 1:20.